French-Canadian friend of mine said to me, there are no more powerful lovers of Montreal than the English, because the people who stayed really, really love it. And even the people who leave, it gets in their blood. And I think it's part of the unique character that everybody talks about.
For probably the last, let's say, 15 years, I've made a point of going back to Montreal for the St. Patrick's Day Parade.
If I had my choice, I'd be back at least once or twice a year.
There's nothing quite like being out east in the fall.
I don't line up for much, but I stood in line in the cold to get into Barbie Barn more than once in my life.
My father and mother went because they felt they had to, out of loyalty and the fact that that's where my father's bread was buttered. And I was bitter for a long time because I felt that the political situation had forced them out and I didn't have that house to go to that I grew up in. Then when I went to work for CJD, not only was it pressure because I had followed George Balkan, who was an icon and a beloved, guy, Montrealer for 30 years in one place, but I've never encountered people who were more protective of a radio station, of a media outlet. A lot of the longtime CJD listeners saw me as changing their beloved CJD, and for the longest time I couldn't figure out where all the anger and vitriol was coming from. And the more I thought about it, the more I understood it, the more I figured out this is, for a lot of people, especially elderly people in the case of CJD, the last bastion of what they remember, the last bastion of what brings them comfort. There's the Gazette and CJD and Bill Hoagland. And don't touch that.
It's got a renewed vibrancy. It's like the city has just sort of gotten used to it. It's being in its own skin now or something.
I see still really big potholes, and I see some crumbling infrastructure, but I see vibrance.
It just seemed like a much more friendly city and more mature, I guess.
I don't see that they have the same kind of need or desire to separate that previous generations did. And perhaps it's just a reflection on the fact that they're maybe more aware of the economics of doing so. They're maybe more aware of the fact that they can still get what they want in the culture that they have without having to take that step.
I mean, there are people, still today who whine and moan about the reality of Quebec. And, I always tell people, be proud of it and embrace it and, learn how to say essence, for God's sake, learn how to, at least speak the language a little bit. Because that's the reality of the place, and that's what makes the place as wonderful as it is. It has that esprit that wouldn't be the same anywhere else without the French fact. My mother said to me, take you out of Quebec, they'll never take the Quebecer out of you.
Now we feel that sadness right here in Montreal. Since the referendum affected one and all, in almost every riding, the no beats out the we. Now we are an island surrounded by a sea.
Hi, I'm Val Salwitz-Warrens from Lachine.
And I'm Steve Warrens. I grew up in NDG and we're on Vancouver Island at Cowichan Bay.
Hi, my name's Kevin Fagan, formerly of Lachine, Quebec, and now I live in Vancouver, British Columbia.
I'm Carol Howes. I grew up in Lachine on 56th Avenue, and we're here in downtown Calgary.
Hi, I'm Wendy Dunn. I'm from Lachine, Quebec, and I've been living out in Calgary for the past 26 years.
Hi, I'm Karen Salowitz. I'm from Lachine, Quebec. After 25 years of living in Calgary, I am now back in Quebec in Elmer.
Hi, I'm Terry DeMonte. I was born in Verdun and raised on the West Island in Pierrefonds when there was nothing there back in '65. Spent some time out west and worked at a few radio stations when I came back to Montreal in '84, Shome and CJD amongst them. And now, welcome to Calgary.
Hi, it's Patty McNeil, aka Peppermint Patty, once L'Orange, before I found some poor stiff to marry me. I used to work at Chaume in Montreal with Terry DeMonte. I now work in Calgary at Q107 with Terry DeMonte.
My name is Dan Clark. I'm a former Montrealer who works for Canadian Pacific. I've now moved to Calgary and I work here in this wonderful city.
Everybody's asking, will you stay or will you leave? And every time we say farewell to another friend we grieve. As one by one we become a scattered family from our little island surrounded by a sea.